Welcome here to Musicians Edition. You have made it to part 4 of our beginner sight reading series. Sight reading not made frustrating. Part 4, it's getting kind of frustrating. So yeah, we're combining left and right hands together here. If you stuck with me through all these other ones, you see we're getting incrementally harder. This is our hardest one. This is our final part here, so we're going to be putting a lot together. Each of these is still going to be structured the same. We're still going to be using 4-bar exercises. Our hands are going to be in the same positions. You should be familiar with the sheet for the piano by now and what notes all these are that we're going to be playing here. We're going to be doing intervals up to fifths and everything below that as well too. We're going to be seeing rhythm with just quarter notes, half notes, and whole notes here. Combining left and right hands. Sometimes with alternating, sometimes doing both at the same time. So without further ado, let's get into our first one. This is the only one that will give you the relief of not having both hands playing at the same time. But it'll do pretty much the next hardest thing of going back and forth all throughout this whole thing of right, left, right, left, right, left. So you're still bouncing and learning and having to do both parts of your brain here, left and right hands, to figure this thing out. Yippee! Let's do it! So since there's the same amount of notes on both hands, it look to be about the same difficulty. We can't really cheat ahead with one hand in the same way we did in part 3 where we had the harmonic or much easier one that we could just memorize a few notes and then get by. We just got to do this by alternating and going back and forth here pretty much. So I'm going to be paying attention to my gaps still between these notes. So I'm still thinking up or down 1 or 2 at a time, especially with something like this. I don't want to keep going through my memorization deck of F-A-C-E, every good boy deserves, that kind of stuff. So we're just going to be doing those gaps again. So let's go ahead and do that. So our hands are going to start off in this position, same way we've been doing for all of these. Let's go ahead and look at those starting notes for each hand, and then we're going to go ahead and play from there looking at the gaps. So what we see here just in our reading ahead, we see a lot of rests. So we're going to lift off of one note as we play the alternating one with the other hand. Those dots there, they kind of just mean you play them hard and kind of like immediate like that instead of nice and slowly. You can stab at it a bit more like that. So let out that frustration on your piano in these ones. You can do it. All right. So reading ahead, we see our first ones. We see a C playing with that right hand. We see a G with the left. So I can see that middle C, I can see that top space, that is G. And from there, I'm looking at my gaps. So I'm going back from G. I'm looking back at this right hand and seeing what's my gap. From C, it was up 1. But what's a bit tougher is I'm not holding down, so I can't just think about it as easier. I gotta think about which one I just played recently. So it's a bit trickier in doing that, but the idea is there. So C, G with the left, going up 1 with the right, going up 1 with the left, back to C, back to G, going up 1 with the right, now going up 2 with the left, back to E, G, down 1, up 1, back to C and G, C and lift it up. Make room for that left thumb to play middle C there too. So it's not a lot of tricks with this one other than just bouncing back and forth. You want to try to read ahead as much as you can. And that's going to be the theme with all these here. Since we're going to have more going on with each hand, we got to try our best to read ahead if we do want to play this nice and smooth. But I really do encourage you to just find the pace that works for you, that you can play this continuously through. And don't stop until you do get to that point where you're playing it at a relatively good speed without any gaps in between it. That's what you should be doing for all of these. Even though they're difficult, take a break after 2 exercises. These might be taking you a while. Take a break after every 1 exercise if you need it. They're tough. So here this is a bit more smoothly together here. All right, so still for all these, I'm looking at the gaps. I just kind of look at the gap of the right, then the gap of the left, gap of the right, gap of the left, kind of doing it like that. So that is our first one. I think this is kind of harder in a way than having them be at the same time, because they're at the same time typically, and what we've seen is there's just a harmonic note that's holding throughout. I think that's easier than doing it this way. But regardless, that's the only one that's going to kind of do it like this. Starting with our next one here, we're going to be playing both actually at the same time. So both are equally acting as the melody. It's not alternating back and forth. It's not favoring one hand. It's the both that are going to be doing the same exact thing rhythmically. So we know that they're always going to be playing at the same time, which is kind of good for our brain to figure out. If I'm playing one, I'm playing with the other hand instead of thinking about both left, right, left, it's kind of doing that. So let's get our hands in the same spot. One hand is not easier or harder than the other, so we'll just go ahead and do this as we go through and thinking about those gaps. So I can see starting off, I want to know my first notes. I'm going to be playing E, that first line, and I'm going to be playing middle C with the left. So this is what I'm going to start with, and I'm going to look at those gaps as we go along here. So I can see right hand here, and I want to be doing this as soon as I can. I can see right hand's going to be going up 2 notes. That's the third up to G. I can see left hand's going to be going down. Ooh, not a third, that's a fourth. That's going down to G as well. So we're going to be playing. And now I got this whole half to look ahead and see what's going to happen next. How generous. I'm holding down this half note. I'm going to read ahead and see what's going on next. What I see going on next is D's with B's. And then I see going up a third, going up a third and going down a third. So I'm getting G and F, so one more time. Whew, and I got all this half note to read ahead again. All right, reading ahead, I can see I'm going down 1 note with the right hand. I'm going up 1 note with the left hand. Let's go ahead. Uh-oh, I'm stuck. I gotta play middle C with both hands. Okay, well, do your best, fit both of those thumbs, or whichever one feels more comfortable. We got middle C playing both here, and then we're going just separating 1 note at a time. I can read that. And then finishing it off with, oh, what is that? It's middle C again, with both fingers, both thumbs. So, play this until the point you can get it to be nice and connected. I will go ahead and show you what that should look like. And you know you did this right if at the end you do have both those thumbs at middle C and filling those gaps all the way up till there. So I think this might actually be the easiest one we have in a way. These next ones are harder because we're going to be doing a lot of alternating back and forth of one hand more harmonic, other hand more melodic. And I think these are kind of trickier because I'm alternating and I'm not always going to have both hands playing together at the same time. I'm going to have some with just the right, now some with just the left, and then both. That's harder for me to think about and harder for my hands in terms of like the hand independence. But let's go ahead and do this. So for me, as I'm reading ahead, what I'm reading ahead first is going to be the more harmonic section. So I'm having to kind of bounce back and forth in terms of what I'm going to read ahead first with, and then I play more of the quarter notes just as I see them because they're closer together and it's really easy for me to see those gaps as I play along, and then just remember what the left hand is going to do from when I read it ahead, if that makes sense. Obviously, whatever works best for you, but that's the biggest method I'm going to use. If you feel confident to be able to take this on by yourself, by all means, take a few minutes to do it. For those who want to do it along with me or see how I do it first, here's what that's going to look like. I want to look ahead, and of course I'm going to be in the same hand position. I'm going to have right hand being middle C. At the beginning there, I'm going to have left hand starting on G. I want to make sure I know that going into this, so my first press is going to be G and C. So I'm going to be playing C twice, and then I see for both of the instances with the left hand, I'm going to be playing G. So from there, let's go ahead and see if we can do this. And the best advice is, if this is a lot for you, just break it up bar by bar. So first bar, and I just got to pay attention to really what the right hand is. I already know the left hand, 2 instances of G. That's up a third, up 2 notes to E, playing it with that left hand, back down to D. Make sure you got that first bar down. Let's do it again. And moving on to the next bar, I'm reading the harmonic ones first, which is going to be the right hand here. So I'm looking from what I just played, I'm going up a fourth, which is up to G. And I'm going to play 2 Gs while I read this left hand. And then reading the next harmonic, which is left, I'm going down to G, right's going to middle C, and then right playing 2 Cs, left I'm going to figure it out with G. Technically a half note with the right hand, but it still wants me to press again with the left. Doesn't really make a lot of sense, but lift up that right thumb, play with the left. Make sure you lift it up enough so you still get the sound, not just, make sure you get the sound there as you alternate them. So that's how you really should approach this one. This next one, you're gonna get the practice of doing that same idea. After playing the melodic section, I'm staying on that one to read the next one's harmonics, especially in this instance where they were always the same. It was 2 of the same notes for each of those half notes. It was 2 left-hand Gs. It was 2 right-hand Gs, 2 left-hand Gs, 2 right-hand middle Cs. Those are easy for me to cheat ahead with as I'm going along, and then I'm really figuring out the more melodic section in real time as it's happening there. So that's how I'm approaching this. So again, play this out until you get it nice and smooth. I'm going to go ahead and show you how that should look, and then this last one is going to be really similar, so you can get practice with a fresh one right after. All right, that is our third one here. We're going to move on to our last exercise. The only way that this one is harder than the last one is when we have the half notes playing here. They're not going to be playing the same note twice. So we have to go ahead and read that gap. I can see for each of those half note instances, I'm either going to do a third or a second. So it's not that bad. It's obviously a bit harder than just having it be the same note, but I can still read ahead, do the same method, read ahead with those half notes. I can remember those 2 notes easier, and then figure out the right hand, or not always the right hand, but the melodic hand as we go. So take that same method or whatever has been working best for you. Take some time to try and figure this one out. For those who want to see me do it, I will do it. So right hand is going to be playing middle C at the start. Left hand is going to be playing G. All right, and left hand I'm going to look ahead first because that's my more harmonic one with these half notes. I see a G going up 2 notes to a B. Let's go ahead and do that. Up a third with the right, down 1 while I do that jump, and then I'm going to play F here, that's up a third with the right. And now I'm reading ahead as I go. I'm making sure I see that E going up a third is my harmonic right hand, so we're going to pair that with the left. And reading ahead with that harmonic I should have been doing along the way, hopefully. But I can always take a second to pause, and I'm going to see F, and then up a second, just F and G. Pairing with the right, which is on F. Going down a third, going up 1, going down a third. Reading ahead, I can see a D and a C with the right, pairing it with the left hand. Oops, sorry. That is going to be D with B, back down to the same note, and finishing off a middle C. So that's going to be it for this one. So you can see we're focusing on reading ahead as much as we can. If you're not there yet, take it at a slow pace as you go first. You're still technically sight reading, even if you're doing it slowly. It's always better to do that than have so many stops along the way because you really don't get the feel of the piece or the flow of it with your fingers. So always try to do it as slow as you need to. Work up that speed, get it as connected as you can, and you're getting a lot of great practice reading back and forth, getting a good handle on these gaps in the notes, and having your brain focus on 2 things at the same time with that right and left hand. I'm going to just go ahead and play this out one more time nice and connected so you can see what you should be getting it up to. There we go. So now you can honestly tell me if these were frustrating for you. I think part 3 and part 4 really do get there. Always, when you're putting this right and the left hand together, it's always going to be tough for you. But I hope this was good progression, going from what I think was the easiest up to what is really becoming, intermediate level sight reading for sure. It's still just one note at a time with each hand, so you're not really doing any chords. That's where it's getting much more difficult, and where it does take a lot more time to, I think, really get the idea down. But this is all melodic intervals, melodic sight reading. So if you are someone who is starting to read sheet music and trying to learn those pieces quicker, and sheet music who's beginner to approaching intermediate level, I'd say now here, you're getting a whole lot of great practice. This is going to go ahead and make learning those songs much easier. And that means you can learn songs much quicker and learn a lot more songs and have a lot more fun on the piano. So I hope you have a good balance of doing some of this dirty work with the exercises. Now you get to relax and have a bit more fun playing songs. Reward yourself wherever you can here. And have fun playing. We'll see you next time.